Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Call of Duty Advanced Warfare Veteran Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Mission 2, it's entitled Atlas, and at the very beginning we're going to be charging this manor. I have no idea what this type of house is, mansion. It probably has some interesting name, I don't know it. But at the beginning here there's a couple of guys. Take them out, then when you rush over to this doorway, the waypoint's going to let you get into the house and you're going to continue pushing forwards. This is going to be a great example of the leanness of this walkthrough. There is a section in the middle of this level where you essentially learn a little bit more about both Atlas, Kevin Spacey and Troy Baker, who, believe it or not, you're voiced by Troy Baker, just like almost every game is these days, and they've even gone as far as to put him in the game effectively, because the performance capture is him and the graphics are his face. It's kind of weird. And don't get me wrong, I am actually an advocate for Troy Baker. I think he's a good actor. He's doing what Nolan North did. And where is Nolan North now? You know what I mean? It's like porn stars. You can't do everything or you don't last. And it makes me wonder what's going to happen. You know, when is Troy Baker suddenly going to not be on demand and we're never going to see him again, kind of like Nolan North? Or do we not see Nolan North now because of his choice to take a back seat and do more eclectic roles? I have no idea, but who is the next Nolan North? Who is the next Troy Baker? Who will it be? Place your bets now, I guess. But I'm trimming out all the middle section where you learn about the characters, where you do the gun training and things like that, and it's literally just going to be the moments where you can die, because everything else is just vestigial, really. It's just leftovers, and this section here is quite fun. You can do the majority of this without people noticing it if you shoot the right ones, but for some reason just then, everybody knew where I was. On my first playthrough on Veteran, they didn't, so I don't really know why that is. It must be kind of scripted in some moments, yet the first time the scripting didn't trigger. I haven't had too many problems with this game. It is a little bit less polished than the previous games. I think there are a couple of moments where it's kind of weird, especially when it comes to spawns. Because this game utilises infinite spawns again in certain areas to make it a little bit more interesting than it might have been otherwise, there are a lot of examples of you rushing forward, getting in cover, and then somebody spawns at the left of you. And in the last two campaigns, I have not had that happen at all, because the spawns have been fixed and they've been, you know, a set amount, so you could just kind of stay back, pepper your shots, and get through there okay. So it's one of the casualties of having that as a mechanic, and as much as pushing forward will favour your performance, especially if you hit a checkpoint, you're going to come up into a few instances where somebody is literally behind you or to the side of you and they kill you almost immediately. And there's not really much you can do in those circumstances except for respawn and maybe take them out first. But on this section here you get to shoot some dudes. We're currently using the weapon called, I think it's the Baal or the Baal or whatever it is. I can't remember if it's double A or 1A, but we'll say Baal or Bale, which sounds more like Christian Bale, doesn't it? But this is probably the best gun on the game, by far. And I thought it was a submachine gun, but it's not. It's an assault rifle, and I find that really strange. I think they should lower its range and put it in the submachine gun class, because this is an assault rifle that kills incredibly quickly and handles like an SMG with very little recoil. And I can almost predict right now that every single professional player playing this game at this moment is going to be using this gun, because it's too fucking good. The only gun that's even remotely close to this is probably the AK-12. That is an assault rifle with very little recoil as well, and it kills very quick, but this gun is just nuts. The only time you realise it's an assault rifle is when you try and sprint and you're a little bit slower than you would be if it was an SMG. So just look out for this gun, it's going to be hated, I can almost predict it. But I did read something today. It was a title on a news feed, and I didn't read the rest of the news feed. That's interesting there, right then. I thought we'd do a stack up and breach, but apparently I did that wrong, and I had to do the shooting myself, which is quite funny. This corridor is probably the only place where you might die. There's one dude who pops out of the door. Oh, bad shooting will get you killed every time. One guy pops out here, and And then the next corner has 3 guys, and I flashbanged them and it didn't work. So I tried a grenade and it kind of worked, and there were still 2 of them, but we got them in the end. Going back to that headline anyway, it was on about patches the game was going to be getting, and I really should have read it, but I didn't. And I almost predict what a lot of the patches are going to be, because there are certain things that you notice in this game that are kind of crazy. But I suppose we'll see how it evolves and how people are liking it. The consensus is pretty much it's tough to do well in this game because of just how madness the standard gameplay is. It is utter chaos at almost all times. All, you know, traffic patterns and all paths through the levels and optimum routes, and all of it is neutralised by the fact you can navigate the map how you like, and you can do it at a speed and an unpredictability that the games have never had before. And that is definitely going to affect a lot of people who don't appreciate the chaos, who aren't maybe a fan of it. But it'll be interesting to see if something does change or something works out. But this is drone gameplay. You can go up and down with the bumpers, and you can zoom with left trigger if you choose to. My only criticism of this drone is it would be nice if it highlighted the people a little bit better, because when you're moving and it's quite quick, you'll notice that there's a little bit of blur on the camera. It can make it very difficult to see people you're missing. For instance, right now it was a couple of vehicles that have just pulled up. But it does give them a little red ring around them, an outline, but it's nowhere near prominent enough. But this is the AK-12. I'm currently wielding 2 of the most powerful weapons on the game. Also, do you see my full battery meter? At any point I can press up on the D-pad and go into the slow motion mode, which is insanely powerful. As I look for a couple of guns. Guns I would recommend. Anything with a red dot on it. This game does not favour iron sights at all. You will very rarely be able to have any weapons with just their iron sights. I pretty much played the entire game and only saw 2 iron sights, so be aware of that if you're a fan of not having optics on it, or using traditional sights. The threat detector, which is essentially a target finder reticle on this game, is really useful. It's useful when enemies are tough to see, and there are a few sequences in this game where it can be difficult to see who's an enemy and who's a friendly. And I've always had this issue with Call of Duty where, especially on Veteran, you can't hesitate on Veteran or you die. I mean, on these ones you kind of can because it's a lot more lenient, but on the old ones, if you hesitate, you die. However, there are times when you see somebody and you go to shoot them and it's a friendly because everybody just looks like a generic army dude, so it's kind of difficult sometimes to tell. And how many times have you failed from friendly fire because you were getting bummed by some guy, you murdered him, another guy ran around the corner and you tried to murder him and it turned out it were Bryce or whatever, it were Price, sorry. And there's a lot of instances of that. And luckily enough you don't fail immediately on this game, but you can still fail, and sometimes your gun won't work when friendlies are around. And there's also an issue on this game, which a couple of them have had, where when you go prone, sometimes your character won't aim his gun. I don't know what it is, but I wish it wasn't there, because it leaves you completely vulnerable and you have to stand up to fire, and when you stand up you're going to get shot. So it's counterintuitive on almost every front, but it happens and you have to put up with it. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.